No! My frames! Alright, I think we're back. No! Looks like it's back now. Sorry. That damn 5 o'clock lag, guys, you know? You died. Hopefully we're back. Sorry. So, we sit down to meditate, right?
Well, better now.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't know what happened. I guess 5 o'clock happened. So we sit down to meditate, and then we go into the spine, and then we start to see. We kind of become this witness, and we see the good and the bad tendencies. We get this pull and push from the mind and the body and the consciousness, going back and forth, trying to pull like a tug of war for our attention almost. In the first stage of meditation, the devotee's mind is inextricably bound up with sense consciousness. His mind is concentrated upon material sounds and restless thoughts. He is aghast to behold all the forces of restlessness and mental opposition arrayed against him. Millions of superficial devotees never pass beyond this state of a deadlocked psychological struggle between the senses and the soul forces of calmness and intuition. So isn't that a perfect allegory? You know, you sit down, you meditate, you close your eyes, and then there you go. There's the giant army of the kudus, all of the 1,000 restless enemies there come at the forefront of you, telling you, get up. What are you doing? Don't you hear that? Don't you hear those noises? Don't you taste that? Aren't you hungry? Aren't you scared? Don't you want to get up? Stop it. Get up. You have to do this. You have to do that. That is the war. That is you seeing the array of the enemy. That is the kudus. There is the battle. You're finally seeing it. So you get in the middle of there and you see it. You sit, you close your eyes, and there they come. Bam, bam, bam. Just unlimited distractions from the mind, from the body, trying to get you away. Just stop it, right? And Yogananda says, like, thousands of would-be devotees, good people, can't even make it past this. They sit down and meditate, like, oh my God, no way. I'm going to lose this battle. Look at my baby right here. Oh my goodness, my sweet baby bear. Namo, namo. The devotee who is victorious in the initial psychological battle. Oh, we're back. The devotee who is victorious in the initial psychological battle enters the second state of meditation. The metaphysical battle wherein his consciousness and life energy becomes centralized in the spinal centers. He sees himself as a warrior on the battlefield of the spine. Pardon me. The common field of spiritual forces and of the opposing mental or sense tendencies in their subtle form. When this battle is about to begin, the devotee feels a simultaneous pull toward the outgoing spiritual forces of the soul, toward the outgoing sense tendencies in the spinal centers, and toward the inwardly turned spiritual forces of the soul. It is then that the devotee contacts the calm spirit within, and prayerfully asks that the divine power to place the chariot of intuition between the subtle divine perceptions and the gross sense perceptions. The devotee expects, with the aid of the spirit, to rally his forces of meditation to fight the forces of restlessness. If the senses win, the devotee falls prisoner to the flesh, and that particular meditative battle is lost. If the spiritual intuitive forces win, the devotee is taken deeper into the kingdom of pure spirit. This is the third state of meditation. Deep, blissful samadhi, in which there is little danger that the consciousness could be caught by any sensory invasion. In stanzas 21 through 22, it is the second state of meditation that is being described. That is, before the devotee has secured his consciousness in blissful samadhi. These verses hold a further, deeper meaning, which I shall explain briefly. The placement of the chariot of intuitive perception between the opposing forces refers in general to the spinal centers, but also specifically to the coccyx, dorsal, and medullary Christ centers. These are three important places. So the coccyx, the dorsal, and the medullary, right? So these are the very base of the spine, the middle of the spine, and the back of the spine, and the back of the head. These are three important places. Intuitional caravanserai. Caravanserai, that's a really good word. Vantage points in which the devotees consciousness becomes ensconced while moving Godward through the centers to the brain. Look at this sentence. My God, what a sentence right here. Like who uses these words? These are three important places. Intuitional caravanserai, vantage points in which the devotee's consciousness becomes ensconced while moving toward God through the centers to the brain. So, caravanserai, so back in ancient, I mean, maybe they have it now, but like back in when they still use the Silk Road, like medieval times, ancient times, thousands of years ago, they would have these routes along the travelers, right? The caravan. They'd have these little caravanserais, which are like little oases. They'd be like truck stops nowadays, right? They're like little stops where you can stop and rest and use the restroom, get food, relax, a vantage point. And then you can look out on that area and look at the next leg of the trip or whatever. So Yogananda is saying that these spots, the coccyx, the dorsal, and the medullary center, these are caravanserai. These are locations where us, as travelers on the spine, oh my God, Jesus, Jewelface, thank you for the 3 months. Holy shit, that scared me. Thank you. That means so much to me. I love you so much. Holy shit. Oh, fuck, that scared the shit out of me. Oh my gosh. What were we talking about? Thank you. Jai Guru Jai, Jai Guru Jai, Jai Guru Jai, Jai Guru Jai. We were talking about something. Oh yeah, so this sentence, right? So he's saying that so he's relating us, our not only us, but our consciousness to this journey through the desert, right? Through a desert, this caravan, and we're trucking through the spine. And he said that these three locations in our journey back to God through the spine are very important. They're like caravanserai, where we can rest and look at our journey. So one of them is the coccyx at the base of the spine, the dorsal, which is like the heart center. The dorsal is like the fin, and then the medullary. So when you get to these locations, these are like caravanserai. And he says another word that's very, very good. I love this word. It's called ensconced. He says the man becomes ensconced. Ensconced is like to be hidden away, to be secured. They might say like a king is ensconced in his palace walls. Shikashi Kabane, what up? Thank you so much, my sneaky little bad playing fox. Is that what that means?
Rest, then keep on trucking.
Exactly. Ensconced, rest, then keep on trucking. Exactly. Katana Kisses, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. How you doing, guys? Good to see you. I miss you to bits. I hope you're doing well. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. Jai Guru, Jai Guru. It's such a beautiful sentence. So he says, these are three important places, intuitional caravanserai, vantage points in which the devotee's consciousness becomes ensconced while moving Godward through the centers to the brain. There is a special polarity between these centers that help the attuned consciousness to be lifted upward. First, there is a magnetism between the negative pole of the coccyx center, the Muladhara, and the higher or positive dorsal center, the Anahata. So, like, there's a polarity here, right? So, the dorsal center, right? The heart center. Oh, I don't want to stand up because I'm there. But, like, so, like, the heart and the coccyx, right? At the bottom of the spine, these two, so there's like a north and a south here, right? So, the south, the coccyx center has a negative pull, and it's pulling us down, as well as the heart center, the Muladhara, the Arjuna, the devotee, the dorsal center chakra. This is also pulling us up. So this is the polarity here, right? So it's a lot of imagery here. I just want to break it down because if you just read this straight, it's not going to make any fucking sense. So then there is a special polarity between these centers that helps the attuned consciousness to be lifted upward. There is the magnetism between the negative pole of the coccyx center, Muladhara, and the higher or positive dorsal center, Anahata. Then by deep meditation, when the consciousness is raised to the dorsal center, that center becomes a negative pole, and the medullary Christ Kutashta center becomes the positive pole, pulling the consciousness upwards to the centers of highest realization in the brain. From the intuitive perceptions received during his sojourn in these three centers, the devotee gains full understanding of the principles of his lower material nature, by experiencing them at their source in their subtle form. All right. It has already been noted that the thousand-petaled lotus, the Sahasrara, in the cerebrum, is the matrix of all forces in the body, operative through the subdynamos in the spinal centers. The ancient seers correlated the vibrations of the cerebral forces and their respective centers in the spine from the seed sounds emitted by the actions of these vibrations. The rishis evolved the phonetically perfect Sanskrit alphabet. From the seed sounds emitted by the actions of these vibrations, the rishis evolved the phonetically perfect Sanskrit alphabet. Oh my god, that's amazing. So Yogananda is saying that one of the most ancient and considered one of the most perfect languages is Sanskrit. And he's saying that the ancient seers, the rishis, like the ancient sages of India, developed Sanskrit because of the astral sounds that were emitting from each of these occult centers, from each of these spinal centers. There's a footnote here, and it says, in Sanskrit grammar, the renowned scholar Sir M. Monier Williams wrote, the Devangadi characters in which the Sanskrit language is written is adapted to the expression of almost every known gradation of sound, and every letter has a fixed and invariable pronunciation. Dhanangadi is another word for Sanskrit. Dhanangadi means the home of God. Devangadi. So Deva Angadi. So it literally means the abode of gods. That's what Sanskrit is. The abode of gods. That's the name of their language. In a footnote of Autobiography of a Yogi, I wrote regarding Sanskrita, polished and complete. Sanskrit is the older sister of all Indo-European tongues. Its alphabetical script is called Devangadi, literally divine abode. Who knows my grammar knows God. Panini, great philologist of ancient India, paid that tribute to the mathematical and psychological perfection of Sanskrit. He who would track language to its lair must indeed end as omniscient. You know, I've read this so many times, and I'm finally realizing what he meant by that. Because I've read Autobiography of a Yogi, and I remember that, and I read that, and I just meant like, okay, whoever traces Sanskrit back to where its roots are, they'll figure out where God is. I just thought, that was just like a cute term or phrase, but no, it literally means like if you were to literally go through each of these sounds phonetically and trace them back to their roots, you would eventually get back to the spinal centers, and you would eventually find God that way. He who would track language to its lair must indeed end as omniscient. Absolutely. In a highly simplified description, it may be said that the 50 letters or sounds of the Sanskrit alphabet are on the petals of the Sahasrara, and that each alphabetical vibration in turn is connected with a specific petal on the lotus in the spinal centers, which have a total of 50 corresponding petals. Coccygeal 4, sacral 6, lumbar 10, dorsal 12, cervical 16, the medullary Christ center 2. Petals mean rays or vibrations. These vibrations, singularly and in combinations, and in conjunction with the 5 elements, and other principles of nature are responsible for various psychological and physiological activities in the physical and astral bodies of man. I include with this commentary on page 1121 a chart authored by my Padam Guru, Yogavatar Lahiri Mahashaya, diagramming this concept as he perceived it. The illustration is a basic outline, for the total number of nadis in the body are variously numbered by the scriptures to be as many as 72,000. During my visit to India in 1935, a copy of Lahiri Mahashaya's chart was given to me by Ananda Mohan Lahiri, grandson of my Padam Guru, for inclusion in the Gita commentary he knew I had undertaken to write. There's a couple of footnotes here, and the first one is about the Sahasrara, the thousand-petaled lotus within the brain. Actually, the sounds are synonymous with the petals, i.e. vibratory powers. The 50 letters or sounds in multiples of 20 equal the 1,000 petals of the Sahasrara. The other footnote is about Ananda Mohan Lahiri, who had himself attained a very high degree of divine realization, was a close friend of and a great benefactor of my school and work in India from its inception. He was especially helpful during my visit to India in 1935 when I was striving to place the school and Yagoda work on firm foundation. What was to be his final expression of loving support came in his last letter to me, written shortly before his passing in 1951, encouraging me in my endeavors to complete this new commentary on the Gita. Write your Gita in your own way, straight from Krishna and Arjuna, and imitate no ancient abstruse interpreter, and signed it yours in eternity. I received a birthday letter one time. I'm sorry for getting emotional with memories. I received a birthday letter one time from a friend who brought me on the path. I just realized where he got the ending from. He said the same thing when he closed. He said, your friend in eternity. Yours in eternity.
Yo.
How are you doing, Kiyaka? It's good to see you. Check out Kiyaka, guys. He's really cool.
Hope you had a good weekend, bro.
It's good, man. I'm having an amazing weekend. I'm so happy. It's crazy. It's hard to put into words, really. Check out Kiyaka, guys. He's really cool. Supportive guy. A veteran. A friend. Ooh. Oh.
Thanks for the shouty. Much love, bro.
Much love, man. Yeah, we're reading the Bhagavad Gita. Maybe you like it. From the realization of the potencies of these vibratory bija or seed sounds, the rishis devised mantras that, when properly intoned, activate these creative forces to produce the desired result. Mantras, therefore, are one means of tuning in with subtle or divine forces. Too often, however, the inquiring seeker focuses on the forces of nature, and the resulting effects are thus in the realm of phenomena and powers, an entrapment to be avoided by the sincere devotee who seeks union with God. Those sacred mantras that are a part of the Kriya Yoga science, including meditation on Om, as mentioned in chapter 1, verse 15 through 18. Om is the supreme mantra, the primordial manifestation of spirit, as cosmic creative vibration, known as Shabda Brahma, or spirit in its manifested aspect as sound. It is therefore the source and container of all vibratory sounds. Om. The word Om, right? Like, that's where Amen comes from. Amin of the Muslims. The word Om, a lot of people spell it O-M, and it's spelled A-U-M. In the Upanishads, it explains that the first sound a baby makes when asking for milk is ah. It opens its mouth, it's ah, ah, ah. the A sound, right? The final sound a mouth makes when closing or ending is mm. For the M sound to be made, the mouth has to shut. M, ah. So it's the opposite, right? Ah is opening, ah beginning. Sound comes out. M, it ends. The U in between the A and the M is what brings them together, the beginning and the end, right? It's aum, aum. And this also represents the whole of reality. This also represents the whole of manifestation around us now. So, it begins, reality starts, it has to be maintained and preserved, and then it has to dissolve and end and go back to its source. So this is the Om. This is where all sound derives from. It's not just like a random thing. Om. The name of God. Those sacred mantras that are part of the Kriya Yoga science, including meditation on Om, as mentioned in chapter 1, verse 15 through 18, and other techniques and instructions of the Kriya path, take the devotee's consciousness straight away to God. I have mentioned to this commentary the various vibratory seed sounds and their derivations because they are part of the details of the yoga science. They need not be concentrated on, however. Their effects will be automatically realized by the advanced devotee as follows. When the devotee's mind is concentrated on the coccygeal center, he hears the vibratory sounds between the coccyx and the sacral centers. He then understands the domain of desires. This center is the first stopping place. When the devotee understands the vibration of the seed sounds in the dorsal center, he is enabled to feel his coccygeal, sacral, lumbar, and dorsal centers simultaneously, and comprehends the mysteries of their subtle powers. This stage constitutes the second stopping place. When the advancing devotee understands the vibration of the seed sounds between the cervical and the medulla Christ centers, he understands the 6 centers, the elements of earth, water, fire, air, ether, and the superether, in their subtle, separated state, and understands further the combinations of the elements that take place in order to produce man's illusion of the solid physical body. Very interesting. Very. So that was verses 20 through 23. It was a lot, right? It's like for every 3 sentences we get 4 pages. It's just stories upon allegories. Verses 24 through 25. Sanjaya said to Krishna. Sanjaya said to... All good stuff. It's good stuff. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra. So Sanjaya is the impersonal seer, right? So Dhritarashtra is blind. He can't see what's going on in the field of activity in the war. So he has to ask Sanjaya, the seer, what do they? And so Sanjaya is relaying back to Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, O descendant of Bharata, requested thus by Gudakesha, Arjuna, Hirikesha, Krishna, drove the best of chariots. So, O descendant of Bharata, requested thus by Arjuna, Krishna drove the best of chariots to a point between the 2 armies, in front of Bhishma, Drona, and the ruler of the earth, and then said, See, Arjuna, this gathering of all the Kurus? So he's pretty much just explaining what's going on in the field, right? So we just explained that Arjuna waved his flag of monkeys with Krishna, and then they went into the field of activity in the middle of the spine to see the army, right? To display who he had to fight and see who he's fighting. And so this is Sanjaya describing what they did right there. So what does this mean? So Sanjaya's introspection. Introspection revealed to the blind mind, here referred to as the descendant of King Bharata, the common ancestor of the Kurus and the Pandus, symbolically cosmic consciousness. Bharata is the name of India. That is India's original name. Bharata. Bharata from Ba means light, and Rata, attached or devoted to. reference to one who is illumined, who has attained cosmic consciousness, realization of the absolute. Introspection revealed to the blind mind that introspection revealed to the blind mind, here referred to as the descendant of King Bharata, ordered thus by the devotee Gudakesha, the ever-ready, sleepless, delusion-defeating, and the soul Hirikesha, king of the senses, drove the best of chariots, spiritual perception, between the Pandava army of discrimination and the Kaurava army of material desire, confronting the mental generals, ego and latent tendency, and all other rulers of body consciousness, earth. The powerful ruling material tendencies and intuitively commanded the devotee to face, acknowledge his inner enemies. Now is the moment of decision, when the good and evil in the spiritual aspirant are poised to fight, each side facing a do-or-die struggle for victory. The uncertain devotee begins to rationalize what such a battle really means. So his charioteer soul, at one with spirit, places him face to face with the enemies he must destroy. The spiritual aspirant who is worthy to be called Gudakesha when he conquers sleep or sloth in order to meditate long and deeply, can command his soul-identified consciousness to centralize or focus clearly impartially his spiritual perception. This perception is the grand chariot with which a devotee moves from the wilderness of the misery-inflaming senses, through the oasis of the spinal centers, to the plane of omnipresent consciousness in the divine cerebral centers. Spiritual centers. When the devotee is spiritually advanced, he can realize his car of spiritual perception on any plane. The ever-awake devotee in his blissful soul-centered state beholds his chariot of spiritual perception properly situated for right observation between the crooked sense tendencies of the mind and the discriminative tendencies of the soul. The state of man on the material plane is marked by the complete identification of consciousness with worldly struggles and goals. This is the perception of the ordinary businessman, for instance, who never tries to understand the intelligence behind his brain, the power without which no business can be carried on. By sporadic attempts at deep meditation, the awakening devotee reaches the second plane of perception, in which once in a while he gets away from the senses and feels the deep peace and joy of his soul. On the third plane of perception, the self-controlled yogi has arrived at the middle point wherein he finds glimpses of bliss and divine realization as his consciousness becomes centralized in the spinal centers. Here he sees the soul qualities and sense tendencies evenly matched. The point is reached as a result of steady meditation and proper schooling in the right habits of yoga. On the fourth plane of perception, when the consciousness becomes completely one with the only good, or God, the devotee goes beyond the opposites of good and evil. Man, awake in God, is not subject to the dualities of nature. Joyous and sorrowful experiences, health and disease, life and death, these phantoms of good and evil vanish like the dreams they are. I need more water and coffee. I'm going to be right back. Give me like 3 minutes, 5 minutes maybe.
Is saying. Be right back. Tashi is listening. Be right back. Tashi is saying. Be right back. Tashi is saying. Tashi is hissing. Be right back. 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 Tashi is hissing.
Oh, perfect timing for ads.
Be right back.
I'll let these ads play out. I just got my coffee and water. I got these ads. I'll just
Hissing.
let them play. I'll be alright. Oh, that's good coffee. Holy crap, did I do that? Oh my god.
Back. Tashi is hissing.
What, huh?
Be right back. Tashi is hissing. 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 Be right back. Tashi is saying 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 be
But
right
open
back.
thy cover, let me discover. Open thy cover, let me discover my beloved Lord in thy heart of hearts. You guys hear that? What is it? That's my desk. We're back. Sorry for the wait. I went to the restroom. I went to get coffee and water, and then the ad break starts. I took a chance to go to the bathroom and I peed all over the place. I peed my pants. I peed my pants in the middle of this. I got excited. I peed myself. Open thy cover, let me discover. Open thy cover, let me discover. Yes, truly, I love that song. Good song. I listen to the same 30 to 40 songs over and over and over and over and over and over and over. That's all I do. And they're all about God. Okay, let's see. So, the yogi is ever mindful that all consciousness of good and evil and of material and intuitive tendencies in man are relative of the same absolute consciousness, referred to symbolically in this stanza as Bharata, common ancestor of both the Kudus and the Pandus. Absence of light is darkness. Absence of darkness is light. Similarly, lack of self control is weakness. Lack of weakness is self control. In this sense, we can understand how duality, or good and evil, are contrasted, are the contrasted positive and negative expressions of the soul unity, which is God. This is a profound thing being said here, right? That everything is actually one thing. By removing darkness, light exists. By removing light, dark exists. That through that polarity, these two opposing forces are actually one. Each man's individual characteristics of behavior are in large measure the
and
sum.
deep.
Real deep, huh? Oh, we're romance. I'm so glad you're here. I know a lot of this stuff is difficult for you, and I really, really appreciate you trying to just even lurking here is really, really appreciated. It means a lot of it. It speaks volumes of your mental tenacity and intelligence. I need to blow my nose. It's very open-minded of you. Each man's individual characteristics of behavior are in large measure the sum total of all his habits. These habits, both good and bad, are formed by man's own consciousness, through repetition of a thought and by thought produced actions. If the consciousness can think and dream itself into bad habits, it has only to think and dream differently in order to form good habits. Good and bad ideas are different forms or different dreams of consciousness. It is better to dream beautiful phases of consciousness than to have nightmares. Consciousness is imaginative. Well, yeah, no crap. It's like, why not have dreams instead of nightmares? Consciousness is imaginative, sensitive, and pliable. It can think and dream itself into any state. The devotee's consciousness, when degraded, is spoken of as the mind racing blindly and uncontrolled, with uncontrolled sense steeds. When man's consciousness is moving toward the soul, it has reached the disciplined state of discrimination. Consciousness, when identified with the soul, is called Krishna, the king of senses, or the Savior, the Kutashta, or Christ consciousness in man. The pure reflection of spirit, the charioteer that leads the discriminating tendencies victoriously toward the kingdom of the infinite. So that's what, man, what a huge sentence there.
Thank you, by the way. Sorry, forgot to reply.
No, it's fine. You don't have to reply. I don't
I'm
expect.
folding laundry.
All good, all good. I'm here to talk, and then if you listen, that's great. That's all that matters. I really appreciate it. Especially on these days. So isn't that such a huge sentence being said right there? Like, consciousness, so consciousness, right? When identified with the soul and not with the body, when consciousness is identified with the soul, it is called Krishna. That's the title. So that's the name. That's what Christ is. And that's what it's called when consciousness. It's also called Krishna or Christ. That's what consciousness becomes. That is what it's called. It's not Krishna. Krishna's name was not Krishna. That wasn't his name. That was a title given to him because his consciousness was attuned to spirit. Christ's name was not Christ. He was born to David Joseph. His last name was David. He was of the house of David. Christ was a title given to him. Christ is when your consciousness is attuned to the soul. When your consciousness is attuned to the body, that's when you're just a normal person. It's like that's when you're just average. That's when you're Joe. It's like that's when you're a hash. Out of the silent sky, come out of. Oh, Bulldozer. Hello. How are you doing? I was talking about you earlier. How are you? It's good to see you, my friend. Yeah, we were talking about. I remember one time I had posted something about my meditations in my spiritual channel in the Discord, and you were like, every time I've tried to meditate, I get nothing out of it. And we went over why techniques are so necessary. Like why you need to know what you're doing, because if not, you're just sitting there unscientifically, without any foresight, without any knowledge, without any type of research. You're probably not gonna get anywhere. Like it's just your odds are against you. Like you go into this war. We were talking about how like all the enemies in this.
I remember.
And we were talking about how like all the enemies of this war in the Bhagavad Gita in this war that goes on. There's this line we just went through where it's like the chariot. Arjuna asked Krishna, right? So Arjuna is the devotee. It's also our third chakra point. He asked Krishna, God, spirit in our mind. He asked him, "Hey, put me in the middle of the battlefield. I want to see the enemies I have to defeat."
Have you taught some of the techniques on stream before? I'm interested.
No, I don't. I'm not able to teach them. You have to like. I mean, there's like basic ones. There's like breathing techniques, but like Kriya Yoga, you have to like sign up for. You have to like. make a pledge that you're gonna sign up. But like, yeah, the basic techniques I've done a basic meditation. There's like a guided meditation I've done on here before, and it's not really
I see.
hold on, wait. I've done like a guided meditation on here. I actually sent it to Guldozer as well, but it's about spirit. It's about God. It's about divine love. This one's about expanding love, and it's so beautiful. I love the woman's voice. I hear it with headphones on, and I disappear every time I go somewhere else. Let me copy this and then close this, and then go back here. But yeah, I've done this on because this is something that's on YouTube, so I'm like, okay, obviously I could share this, right? And there's basic meditation techniques like the preliminary techniques is just like a breathing. They'll teach you in it. It's just like holding the breath, counting to 6, counting to 7, whatever, holding it, and then exhaling a count, the same count, 5, 6, 7, whatever, and then you hold that breath, and you stay in that state where you don't inhale in between the breathing, and that's where you go from there. It's like inhale, and you hold that for another 6 seconds, and then so like here is a little thing I will give, a secret. I don't know if it's really a secret, but one of the techniques, the whole point of the breathing techniques that they teach you, the Hong Sa technique, is to expand that space.
W Mother's Day II and happy MF Sunday to everyone here. Hope the day went well. Everyone ate and we are lit.
Oh hell yeah, girl! Happy Mother's Day, Leica. I don't know if you're a mom, but happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all mothers. You're just like, hold on, let me write this down. But like, so you're inhaling, you're holding in, you're staying in the breath here, and you stay in that space, and then you exhale slowly. When you exhale and you don't inhale, there's that space there, right? Before you inhale and there's no breath, this is the closest you're going to get to death. This is the closest you'll be to dying, to leaving the body.
Does a meditation session last usually?
I mean, that video is only like 10 minutes. You can do a meditation like 10, 15 minutes. Today I did like an hour-long one when I was at the temple. I've done like 2-hour-long meditations. Usually like 30 minutes. I usually go like 20, 30 minutes. But as you exhale, you hold in, you exhale this space. You want to keep doing this. You want to try to stay in that space where there's no inhalation or exhalation. In that area, that's where you want to kind of be. And you want to extend that time that you can stay in that area as long as possible. Because that's the link to...
My roommate actually died a month ago and they resuscitated her. She feels cold all the time now.
Oh my God. Did she have any weird out of body experience? What'd she say it was like? Isn't she a mother? Isn't she a new mom? Is that the same roommate? Oh my God, I'm so scared. I'm so sorry.
She just blacked out.
Oh, she doesn't remember anything?
No.
Oh, okay. I love this song too.
She stopped breathing while getting her C-section.
Oh. Yeah, that's not good.
Her baby was also born not breathing.
Oh. That's not good. Yeah, but there's a lot of research. The guy who coined the term near-death experience, Dr. Raymond Moody, he wrote a book called
They're
Life...
both okay now.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank God. I'll be praying for them constantly. He wrote a book called Life After Life, and he interviewed like 6,000, a lot of children who died and came back to life, and they all have very similar experiences of what happened after they died and came back, and it's haunting. It's striking, like the similarities amongst all these stories. It's like it can't be a coincidence, all these kids. All these people die, they come out of their body, they see their body from another point of view, then they go into like this light at the end of a tunnel, so usually it's like blue or different colors, and then they're in this place and they see all the actions of their past life, of their life, and then they meet this thing, this entity of light that like, you pretty much decide whether or not you want to go forward or not. And like, all of them said, I need to go back, obviously, because they came back and they're able to tell this story. But it's like when there's like thousands of these situations and they're coming from like kids, it's like, what? And then it becomes illogical to think that there's nothing. It becomes illogical at one point to think like there is nothing after death. Almost, right? Like,
Yet it's interesting.
super interesting. It's the only thing I'm really interested in. This is the only thing that really makes me happy. This is the only thing I'm really excited about. I can just research and talk about and read books about, and it gets me going. So the devotee's consciousness, when degraded, we'll read this part again because I kind of fell off track. The devotee's consciousness, when degraded, is spoken of as the mind racing blindly with uncontrolled sense steeds. When man's consciousness is moving toward the soul, it has reached the disciplined state of discrimination. Consciousness, when identified with the soul, is called Krishna, or the Savior, the King of senses or Christ consciousness in man, the pure reflection of spirit, the charioteer that leads the discriminating tendencies victoriously towards the kingdom of the infinite. Man's consciousness, when identified with egoism, is called the Brishma state. When the consciousness is one with the past tendencies, that state is called the Drona Samskara, or latent tendency state. When the mind impartially weighs all the faculties of the soul against sense pleasures, it's called Sanjaya, or the introspective state. When the consciousness of the devotee is ever ready to meditate, scorning sleep, it has reached the Arjuna Gudakesha state of a fiery spiritual determination and self-control. The Arjuna Partha state is that consciousness in which the devotee feels sympathetic toward the mental sense tendencies, his Kuru relatives, and needs to be reminded that he is the son of Pritha, another name for Kunti, who represents the power of dispassion or renunciation, and that he should therefore not accordingly and not give in to instincts born of nature. So it's like it's very, so you keep seeing that Krishna has like a bunch of different names in this. They called him Hari Krishna, right? Hrishikesha, which is like, it means the king of senses. They call him different names because of the allegory that he's supposed to represent. Because in this story, there's a stanza, and it's supposed to talk about a war, and they keep saying all these weird subtleties in the war, and the reason is because of this. Because they're referring to Krishna, as the king of senses in us. That's the whole reason. They're calling Arjuna, whose name is Arjuna. Did someone say Kunti? Did someone say Kunti? Vogue. It activates. When someone yeah, let's continue. The duality of consciousness, the progenitor of all states of both good and evil, with their common ancestors of the absolute or cosmic consciousness, will now be the cause of painful quandary in the psychological treatise. Will now be the cause of a painful quandary in the devotee. The Bhagavad Gita, a comprehensive metaphysical and psychological treatise, describes all experiences that will come to the spiritual traveler on the path of emancipation. Thus far, concentration has been primarily on the positive states the devotee is striving toward. In the verse that follow, to the end of chapter 1 and the first part of chapter 2, warning is given as to the negative states that try to intimidate the devotee and turn him from his goal. Forewarned is forearmed. The devotee who understands the route he must travel will never feel unsure or dismayed at inevitable opposition. The true devotee gives not only trust to God, he worships him through understanding and wisdom. Blind piety is not unacceptable to the Supreme Being, but it is a low form of spiritual mindedness. Man, blessed with the divine gift of intelligence, of reason, and free choice, should worship his Creator in truth and in understanding. It pleases the Lord to see his human children, made in his own image, employed to their quest of him, the highest gift he has given to them, their divine birthright of intelligence. The devotee who uses this intelligence to study sincerely the message of the Gita will find it a faithful travel companion that will not only guide and encourage, but also caution and protect. Verse 26. We're trucking, guys. We're trucking along. Partha, Arjuna, beheld position there, as members of both armies, grandfathers, fathers, fathers-in-laws, uncles, brothers, and cousins, sons and grandsons, and also comrades, friends, and teachers. So this is so Arjuna. So the last line was Arjuna asked to go to the war, right? He's like, I want to go to the middle of the war, and I want to see who I have to fight. And Krishna takes him there, and he's like, look, these are them, and he points them in their face. The last line was on the Kudu side was Dhritarashtra, the blind king, was hearing from Sanjaya the same thing. Sanjaya explained, like, hey, Krishna just went into the middle of the battlefield with Arjuna, and they just looked into everybody's faces and they're like, look at these guys. This is who you have to fight. So, Partha, now he's called Partha. Isn't this interesting? Why is Arjuna, the same guy, Arjuna, now there's a third name, they're calling him Partha, beheld position there as member of both armies. Grandfathers, fathers, father-in-laws, uncles, brothers, and cousins, sons, and grandsons, and also comrades, friends, and teachers. So he sees it on the battlefield there, his family. These aren't just some random foes that he has to kill, some random guys from another country. These are his friends, his teachers, his father-in-laws, Through intuitive self-control, born of meditation, the devotee beholds. So this is what it means. This is now Guru's interpretation of this stanza. Through intuitive self-control, born of meditation, the devotee beholds his good and bad psychological relatives in the warring armies of divine discrimination and of the wicked senses. There are the psychological grandfathers, the good or evil, deep-seated ego consciousness mental fathers and father-in-laws, such as the paternal tendency of keen dispassion with its negative inner feminine tendency, or daughter, of coiled life force. Psychological uncles, such as pride and other delusion-intoxicating tendencies, brothers and cousins of discriminative powers and of sense tendencies. Psychological children tendencies evolved from self-control and from other discriminative powers and also from the sensory mind, grandsons or interrelated offshoots of good and evil desires, friendly good and bad habits, and action-inspiring past tendencies, teachers of the soul qualities and the sensory inclinations. When the devotee passes through the initial state of meditation and arrives at the middle state, as described in the previous stanza, he obtains this keen vision of his dear psychological relatives of good and bad tendencies gathered together on the battlefield of consciousness, ready to destroy one another. There's a couple footnotes here. Psychological means the inner nature of the Kudu and Pandu forces of materialistic and spiritual expressions of the devotee's consciousness, which he perceives during introspective meditation, in contradistinction to the outer or physical responses and actions they engender. The other footnote reads, it is illusory to think that a person has one mind, good or bad. There is no single mind but many. We are a coalition, not a single person. This conclusion was reached after many years of research into brain functions and evolutionary biology by Robert Ornstein, PhD, a psychologist who teaches at University of California Medical Center, UCMC. Oh, that's not too far away. It is look at what this PhD psychologist who teaches at UCMC look at what he says. It is illusory to think that a person has one mind, good or bad. There is no single mind but many. We are a coalition, not a single person. literally the entire army of like the Kudus and the Pandu army, you know, like this coalition of different subtleties and forces and habits and actions and cousins and nephews and grandfather, you know, we're not just one, you know, we're a coalition of everything. We're so much. Through intuitive self-control, born of wait, no, we read that already, so sorry. Let me read all this. Okay. To name a few, the devotee can find the good and bad grandfathers, or good and bad egos. The good ego draws the devotee toward meditation and good action. The bad ego attracts one to evil. A person is born with either a spiritual or material predominating. I have so much more here. I have to read you. Oh my God, from that guy, that doctor right now. That wasn't the end of the quote I just saw on the next page. Holy crap, this guy goes in. It's a person is born with either a spiritual or material ego predominating, according to his actions in past lives. This chief ego or individuality of any particular life in past lives, of any particular life, is called the grandfather tendency, because it rules all other tendencies. Psychological grandfathers can be dual or triple in a complex personality. Many persons are Jekylls and Hydes. Those whose good and bad egos in one life are equally powerful. Ain't that right? I know that's right. The father-in-law psychological tendency, Drapada, is keen dispassion, which fathers or rouses the coiled life force, Draupadi, at the base of the spine. When the devotee causes the coiled force at the coccyx center to reverse its flow from the senses to the brain through the inner insulation of the spinal cord, it awakens the spinal centers, and when this spirit ward life force continues with the 5 pandus in these centers, it gives birth to offspring of divine qualities that arouse a longing for God and a bitter distaste for material things. These qualities are called Draupadeya, sons of Draupadi. When the devotee in meditation controls the coiled life force and reverses its flow, his consciousness in the spinal centers becomes the husband of Draupadi, and he meets his father-in-law, Draupada, or keen dispassion. So it's all an allegory, like all these fathers and grandsons and nieces and wives and all these stories of people having children. It's all a great allegory for when different parts of our consciousness meet together and bore out, and different qualities are born of that. Yogananda is saying that when our life force is united with one of the pandus, the chakra points, they bear children. You know, the life force is the one wife that is shared amongst the 5 Pandu brothers, and when they pass through each one, she bears a child, and these children are different qualities of the ego, or of the divine, are divine qualities of higher sense mind. It's very deep. It's very metaphorical, very allegorical. So that last quotation that I read you from the psychologist Robert Ornstein, he said, "It is illusory to think that a person has one mind, good or bad. There is no simple mind, but many. We are a coalition, not a single person." A psychologist, Dr. Ornstein, PhD, who teaches at University of California Medical Center in San Francisco and at Stanford University in Multi-Mind, a new way of looking at human behavior, Dr. Ornstein continues. Instead of a single intellectual entity that can judge many different kinds of events equably, the mind is diverse and complex. It contains a changeable conglomeration of different kinds of small minds, fixed reactions, talents, flexible thinking, and these different entities are temporarily employed, wheeled into consciousness, and then usually discarded, returned to their place after use. Some of the small minds that get wheeled in are the result of many diverse centers of control in the brain. These centers have developed over millions of years to regulate the body, to guard against danger, and generally to organize and plan effort. The separate mental components have different priorities and are often at cross purposes with each other and with our life today, but they do exist, and more soberly, they are us. It would be a good idea, I think, if we could come to see the primitive basis of many of our judgments and decisions so that we might try to do something about them. Our problem as individuals is that most often we act unconsciously and automatically. Thus, we do not often know which one of the multiple small minds is operating at any time, and often we do not select the appropriate small minds at the right time. People can consciously redirect their minds, but like learning to read or do math, this ability doesn't come naturally. Dr. Ornstein wrote in The Evolution of Consciousness, it has to be nurtured. We have to know who is in there to order around. My God, what? How much more correlating of a lesson could this be with this little quote by a PhD psychologist? We're literally talking about how Krishna is telling Arjuna he needs to be aware of his psychological traits in order to defeat them. Well, in the battle, he has to go see his enemies in order to defeat them. He has to know who they are and identify them. And here we have this doctor saying, like, we have to know all of our traits in our mind in order to know who to order around. The doctor's saying that, in order for us to even operate or to do things, and the reason we have actions that go against our inability, our minds, or what we even think is right or wrong, is because we aren't in the right mind place. These little minds in our mind that it's not operating correctly. And he's like, but we can do this. We can nurture it. We can control it. And this is the whole process of yoga. This is the whole science of it. It has to be nurtured. We have to know who is in there to order around. For millennia, individuals have been attracted to the idea of higher selves or mystical experiences. We now need to be aware that these experiences are important for our future and recognize that they are within the range of all. We can remake our minds by shifting the mind in place. The traditional term for controlling ourselves is will, an unfashionable term nowadays. If there is a will, it will reside in the selection of the differing minds that we call into play. Conscious control is a small and weak force in most minds, a force that we can develop by self-observation. Oh, look at that! Oh, look at that! Bang! Bom, 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 bom! Bom, 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 bom! Banger! Bom, bom, banger alert! Bars! The father-in-law psychological tendency, Drapada, is keen dispassion. Oh, wait, we already read this. I forgot we went back to read this part. Here we go. The psychological uncles are the intoxicating delusion-creating tendencies of attachment to the senses, to material objects, and so forth, and false pride, with its narrow-mindedness, that tries to dissuade the devotee from giving up social position, and from bearing criticism from others for foolishly following the path to God. Such uncles are almost fatherly in their power because they wield vast control over the human consciousness. Among the psychological brothers and cousins are the 5 divine Pandu brothers, born of discrimination, and their 100 cousins, born of the blind sense mind. The cousin sense tendencies at first seem friendly, like well-meaning but wrongly informed brothers who try to convince the devotee of the justice of their cause. The psychological sons consist of the devotee's spiritual qualities, born of self-control and the other offspring of Draupadi, as mentioned above, and also the offspring of the evil sense tendencies. The psychological grandsons are the good and bad desires that evolve out of the practice, feeling, and perception of good and evil. Oh, man. Good coffee. The only thing that could beat this would be a banana. Oh, wow, look at that.
LOL.
Oh! Oh, I was hoping no one saw that. Are we in commercials? No. I'm like, wait, ain't I on my Be Right Back screen? You see me just like deep throating a banana. I'm like, oh.
I seen.
I saw it. Shri Yukteswar Om, Shri Yukteswar Om. Oh! Om Shri Yukteswar Om. Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru,
I
Om.
missed it.
Oh! Oh, thank God.
Rewind.
No. Oh, wait, you can, huh? You have that capability. It's you play it in reverse. I'm like, oh, just like
Banana consuming.
banana assuming. Krishna Om, Krishna Om, Krishna Om, Krishna Om, Krishna Om. Where were we? Come on, guys. Lurk. Oh, hi, Boxfly. Thanks for the lurk, brother. Yeah, on Sundays we do spiritual readings. Check out this guy. He does really long, crazy streams where he beats a whole game in one stream. And then he'll try to go for, like, platinums and stuff. Om Shri Yukteswar Om Shri Yukteswar Om Teshwar Om. Today is Shri Yukteswar's birthday. I just remembered. Thank you. The psychological friends and comrades are good and bad habits. Good habits are helpful and friendly to one in his performance of good actions, just as evil habits are friendly and helpful when one is performing evil actions. The psychological teachers are the strong tendencies of good and evil from past good and bad habits that serve as the stimulating motive power of present good and evil actions and habits. Until one is wholly under the influence of the independent wisdom of the soul, almost all that he is and does is a result of habit or conditioning. If one is bound by a bad ego, subject to desires and likes and dislikes, conditioned to respond in a materialistic way to his senses, if his thoughts and actions are under the compulsion of delusion, his will, his thoughts, and actions are under the compulsion of delusion. Oh, his will, bound by karma, then, because of the way these influences control and condition his mental makeup and manner of behavior, all of them may be said to be bad habits, the army of the Kurus. Conversely, good habits are the spiritual opposites, the army of the Pandus, the friends and supporters of the cause of the soul that are necessary to oust the evil or materialistic nature. The aspiring devotee reconditions his consciousness with the cultivation of spiritual qualities until these predominate as his natural habits. The aggregate of his nature. What does aggregate mean? The aggregate of his nature. Someone Google that. Om Lahiri Mahashai, Om Lahiri. What does aggregate mean? Aggregate means total combined amount, the adding things up, e.g., aggregate score equals the sum of all scores. Okay, so it's like the sum of the combined amount of all. Okay, that's convenient. Om Shri Yukteswar, Om Shri Yukteswar. The aspiring devotee reconditions his consciousness with the cultivation of spiritual qualities until these predominate as his natural habits, the aggregate of his nature. Okay, so the combined amount of his nature, the absolute amount of his nature, the combined amount of his nature, the aggregate of his nature. The good habits, having then fulfilled their purpose, willingly surrender their rights to the wisdom reign of the soul. Meditation is the inner war drum that rouses these good and bad habits from a long slumber of indifference and makes each side willing to increase its forces in order to obtain full victory over man's consciousness. When one is passively under the influence of bad habits, his materialistic nature, he does not find any noticeable resistance from his innate good habits. His soul qualities are spiritual nature. It is only when the devotee actively tries to cultivate good habits, concentration, calmness, peace, and marches them as soldiers towards the kingdom of the soul, that fierce resistance is stirred up from the bad habits, fickleness, restlessness, disquietude. Om Guru Om. The enthusiastic spiritual beginner, in the heat of his zeal, does not realize the power of resistance possessed by bad habits, nor does the bad habits notice, at first, the silent invasion of good habits. It is only when the devotee means business and makes repeated struggles to establish the generals of good habits in the kingdom of consciousness that the generals of bad habits become alarmed and make furious attempts to oust the intruders. So that's the big deal. Is he says something here, he's like, only when we mean business. We have to be really we have to really struggle, and I don't mean struggle in a bad way. I mean the way that we go about struggling for our jobs, the effort we put in working so much, the hours we put in for love, for our home, for food, the things we do to take care of our own. We should be putting this much, if not a greater effort towards God. This is when we get down, we mean business. That's when you're going to start really seeing leaps and strides in your relationship with the Creator, with Spirit, from my personal experience. Thus it was with Arjuna, self-control of the devotee, after he had been placed by Krishna, soul perception, between the two armies of good discrimination and bad sense tendencies. Arjuna looks at the array with awe. For the members of both armies are his own dear relatives, his self-created good and bad habits. In spite of growing power of discrimination behind the army of good habits, self-control will find it hard, and often distressing, to destroy the dear old familial bad habits. So this is where it gets really interesting, because so Arjuna, we described who all his family members are. We described Arjuna. We described what they represent, the good and the bad side. Now he's going out to war. He's looking out and he sees the battle array. And they're his own family. They're his friends. They're his relatives. They're who he grew up with. Troll me, say who can be. So he goes out and it's in awe, just like if any of us, which is also the meditating devotee, you go sit down to meditate, and then bam, it's just constant distractions from your family of habits, right? Like everything you've ever done in your life, ever, is telling you not to do this, screaming at you. It's like conch shells blowing back and forth, right, between the pandus and the kudus, right? They're blowing their conch shells. So verse 27 is where it gets very interesting. This is where we can all kind of relate to the war, right? Arjuna's refusal to fight. Arjuna does not want to fight. He's not going to do it. And I get it. I understand it. Verse 27. Beholding all those relatives arrayed before him, the son of Kunti, Arjuna, became filled with deep sympathy and spoke dolefully. When the devotee Arjuna, son of Kunti, beheld his favored bad habits about to be slain by the accumulated wisdom of meditation, his positive masculine nature of fiery self-control became influenced by the negative inner feminine nature of feeling. With foolish emotional sympathy, the devotee dolefully introspects. In every being there exists a masculine and a feminine nature. The masculine or positive side reveals itself as the powers of discrimination, self-control, exacting judgments, qualities that express or respond to reason. The negative or the feminine nature consists of feeling, love, sympathy, kindness, mercy, joy. In the ideal being, these two aspects are perfectly balanced. But if reason lacks feeling, it becomes calculating, harsh, judgmental. And if feeling lacks reason, it becomes blind emotion. Don't think that he's saying that feminine is negative. No. Yogananda was very, very feminine. He's just saying that these are the two polarities. One is positive, one is negative. These are the two sides. One is feminine, one is masculine. These are them. And every human being, every being has a feminine and a masculine side in them. But if you lack one or the other, then it becomes, blind emotion, or, lacks feeling. It becomes like calculating, too harsh. It's not, if your reason is lacking feeling. There's a footnote here, and I'm sure it's going to blow my mind. Neurophysiologists have delineated these and other differences between men and women based on the distinctive functions of the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Researchers have noted that, generally speaking, the left side of the brain, which specializes in analytical, logical, and verbal task, is more active in men, while the right side, which activates the artistic and creative functions, working more with metaphor, emotions, and feelings, is more active in women. Oh, interesting. Q said, I see. And he's like, oh, what up, Q? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man. Happy Mother's Day. Hope Mama Q's doing good. Check out Q, guys. Good guy, good guy. Check him out. Make a friend. Parched up and scorched up, be dried up. So this is what we're talking about. So like the left hemisphere is like more masculine, the right hemisphere is more feminine. Big lurking. Had a lunch with fam. Hope all is well with y'all. That's good. I'm happy to hear that. So researchers have known that generally speaking, the left side of the brain, which specializes the left hemisphere specializes in analytical, logical, and verbal tasks, is more active in men, while the right side, which activates the artistic and creative functions, working more with metaphor, emotions, and feelings, is more active in women. So this is it, like left hemisphere, right hemisphere. Where you might hear that often. Steadily, from about 2 or 3 million years ago, man's organ of thought became increasingly bifurcated. Bifurcated means split in the middle, I think. Let's check that with this incredible action that Q made for me. Google, we're going to ask, what does bifurcation mean? I think it means when it's split down the middle. I could be wrong. Let's check. Oh, I forgot to put mean. Bifurcation is when something splits into two paths / states. Oh my god, pardon me. Is when something splits into two paths / states. Like the writing and reading plot discovered 2 correct endings. Which one are you thinking of? Yeah, so he's saying that man's thoughts over the last 2 million years has been increasingly split into 2 paths. Bifurcating, I think. Right? Steadily from about 2 or 3 million years ago, man's organ of thought became increasingly bifurcated, writes David Darling, PhD, in Equations of Eternity. This is particularly true of the human male, because the polarization of the right and left hemispheres seems to be more pronounced in men than in women. Many religious world models display an intuitive knowledge of left and right brain functioning. In Taoism, for instance, there is a male principle known as yang. At the other extreme is yin, the female force. Interesting, huh? Yin and yang. Oh, we got an ad starting in 2 minutes. In the Tao of physics, Fritjof Capra describes the ancient Chinese view of yang as the strong male creative power, and yin as the receptive female and maternal elements. In the realm of thought, yin is the complex female intuitive mind, yang the clear and rational male intellect. Yin is the quiet contemplative stillness of the sage, yang the strong creative action of the king. Especially pertinent to this Gita stanza is the work of University of Alberta psychiatrist Pierre Flore Henry, who has done extensive research on the different characteristics of the brain's 2 hemispheres. Flore Henry believes that one of the qualities locatable in the left hemisphere is fighting power.
The Tao of Physics is amazing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we're reading about him right now. Flore Henry believes that one of the qualities locatable in the left hemisphere is fighting power. Feelings such as wariness, depression, and anxiety, he says, are more characteristic of the right side of the brain. Half our mistakes in life arise from feelings where we ought to think and thinking where we ought to feel, observed the British writer J.C. Collins. Both left and right hemispheres, and both the masculine and feminine natures, have characteristic strengths as well as characteristic weaknesses. The evidence from brain hemisphere research does not exalt one over the other. In Western culture, the left side of the brain is the more active, and the male principle dominates, which may explain why the West is so technically advanced, and yet in some ways is so spiritually impoverished, Dr. Darling writes. Our brains have evolved so as to see the world in 2 different, complementary, but also mutually exclusive ways. Each of us figuratively speaking, has the East and the West, the male and the female principle, in his or her head, but usually one or the other has ascendancy. Either we are too concerned with rationality and so, from the Eastern point of view, fall out of harmony with nature, or we are too introspective and fail to achieve materialistic growth. Both mental modes are apparently essential to human consciousness, and so ought to be brought more into balance. That's so interesting, huh? Check out the Shikashi over here, Shikashi Kabane, the artist formerly known as, what was your old name? Oh, I can't think. I don't know. I tried. Allow Seek. There it is. The artist formerly known as Allow Seek. Who wouldn't you? Whoa, baby.
All good lol, that means the old name is over. Tie.
CJ, how you doing? Oh, you came in at a good time. How you doing? Welcome in, my precious little friend. Check out CJ, guys. She will be streaming. She's a streamer. She will. She takes breaks. She's a full-time modern woman. She's not just a streamer. She's a mother. She's a wife. She's a lover. She's a friend. Good to see you, CJ. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
I'm tired.
I'm tired. I'm also an exhausted. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, you're so funny, CJ. And look at that. Funny too? My gosh. Where else are you going to get that from? I'm great. Oh my god. Happy Mother's Day, CJ. Ugh. I forgot it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to you. Did you do anything cool today, or did you get any cheesecake? Thank you. No problem. Thank you for being a channel for divine motherly love. Yeah, I went to church in the morning. It was kind of bittersweet. I was feeling a little sad in the morning, and then I was like, oh, let me go to church. I went to temple, and it was just amazing. It was fantastic, and it was really good being around other people who are who really love the divine. It's sometimes I'll feel a little lonely, you know.
My fiance's siblings, their fams all stayed over this weekend, played some guitar games. It was a good time.
Oh, that's amazing. Hell yeah, that's great. What a great time. Memories for a lifetime. That's beautiful. You're so family oriented. That's admirable. Ooh. See, this is why I put a lid on my coffee cup now. Because I'm silly. I do that all the time and not do it. Oh. Oh, that's good water. In the voice of thunder, proclaim it abroad. Blow, bugles, blow free. Yeah, I was feeling a little sad. I went to temple and I was just talking to all these people and hearing the sermon about divine motherly love. It was really uplifting. It really put me in a good place. And then there's just some amazing people there, dude. Like, so many good people. And like, I keep telling myself I don't deserve this. And like, everyone's like, yes, you do. And they just tell me the opposite. I'm like, no, no, no. Ooh, man, that's good. Welcome back. Welcome back, guys. I was just drinking a bunch of water, and I talk so damn much during these streams. Just like, I get really, really thirsty. I mean, I always talk a lot, but it's like, it's just non-stop. You know, because I'm reading, so just non-stop talking. And it's like words that I wouldn't even know usually. It's like a lot of me using big words that I usually wouldn't use. My tongue's exhausted. It's like, gosh. Prima mohima. It's good. That is good coffee. When it's fresh.
Reading is just yapping somebody else's words.
Reading is just yapping somebody else's words. Who was it? I think it was Franz Kafka. I can't remember. Maybe it was Ernest Hemingway. Nikki, hey, how you doing? Look at that cool duck. That's a cool duck. My precious little friend Nikki, how are you? Happy Mother's Day. Even if you're not a mother. The monk said something so nice. Like, even if you're not a mother, all women are capable of being a channel of that divine love of God. Of the Divine Mother. I was like, yeah, you're right. Nikki was there when I did that little silly, quick guided meditation. How's it going, Nikki? Are you still playing Sworn? Did you get Diablo also, or no? I know a lot of those. The Spooners got it. Some of the quackheads.
Hi, I am doing well. True surprised me with loaded chili cheese tater tots, Nutella shake, and a sugar-free Red Bull for tomorrow eek.
Oh, hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Damn, tell True to surprise me with some loaded chili cheese tots, girl. Damn, said True this way.
Download Diablo 4.
Oh, let's fucking go.
Right.
True. Hi. oh, hey, True. Just like, I need this. That's good. I'm glad he's doing good. I'm glad he's got that job and going. Oh, yeah. You seem like a mom, Nikki. You seem very motherly. Oh, Lord.
I absolutely want kids, yes, but as of now just a daughter and LOL.
Yeah. You know us Mexicans. We be seed dropping. I got a bunch of kids somewhere. I don't know where, but they're somewhere. Probably in Italy and Mexico. Little hash browns running around. Some kids running around, half Mexican, half Italian kids running around with glasses on. Like, where? Que bella, que bella. Nah, I'm just kidding. Nah, I'm just messing around. I wrap it up. Anyways, yeah, no, I couldn't possibly. I couldn't possibly have any children. I would ruin that child. Have you guys seen how I treat my dogs? My God, I would ruin these children. I'd ruin them. I would spoil the shit out of them. I'd ruin that child. They'd never see problems. Alright, let's continue reading. So we're talking about the masculine and feminine feelings that every human being has, and like the left and right hemisphere of the brain. And then we went on to talk about how that relates to Arjuna seeing his friends and family. Go this way, this way. Not better? Same thing. Alright. Arjuna, the devotee, is here referred to as the son of Kunti, signifying his mental state as one who is subject to nature. That is, he is behaving not as the soul, but as an ordinary man born of woman. Furthermore, because his masculine good judgment and self-control have given way to feminine emotionalism of unwise sympathy toward the enemy forces, this epithet also means he needs to be reminded that he should behave more like a true son of the noble Kunti, who represents the ardent devotee's power to invoke the aid of spiritual energy in his sadhana. What does epithet mean? Isn't that like an emotional sentiment? Someone Google. What does epithet mean? Why am I in capitals again? Oh. Epithet isn't a common English word. On Twitch, it's usually a typo meme. What?
Epithet name.
Epithet means name. Oh, is it?
Moniker.
A moniker. Oh, okay. Yo, Richie, epithet.
The addy and I'll be your sugar daddy too.
DM me the addy, and I'll be your sugar daddy too. Oh, oh, guys, he heard. Tee hee. Papa, no. Nah, I'm just messing around, True. Check out True Benjamin Danklin, guys. He be smoking. He's on Diablo. He's on Pal Worlds. He's on Rock Simulator. You're gonna want to be in there. Okay, so it just means a name. So this is another thing that keeps happening. So Arjuna, like I said, they keep calling him a different name. Why? They keep calling Krishna different names. Why? Because they're saying that in this situation, Arjuna isn't just Arjuna. He also represents this. He is becoming too emotional to the human aspect of his enemies, which is not good when you're about to enter a war and these guys need to be destroyed, right? The devotee following the path of meditation in hope of complete emancipation realizes that he has to destroy his material tendencies because they militate against the pursuance of the superior soul pleasures. But because of his long familial relationship with these tendencies, he becomes dejected at the prospect and is spoken of as feeling sympathetic toward these dear psychological relatives. What mortal does not feel this tender compassion for self? After all, that's me. That's the way I am. But the Gita is addressing the true self, the soul, cautioning the aspiring devotee against sympathy for that part of the nature that opposes the soul. It is good to feel good about the good in oneself, but it is bad to feel bad for the bad that should be destroyed. It is good to feel good about the good in oneself, but it is bad to feel bad for the bad that should be destroyed. It's like a Dr. Seuss rhyme, huh? It's good to go good, for goodness sake. It's like... yeah, so you shouldn't be feeling bad. Like if you're trying to destroy some evil tendency that's keeping you away from God, you shouldn't feel bad about getting rid of it. The reason few people seek God in earnest, as do the saints, is that millions believe they cannot do without evil, misery-producing pleasures. They are addicted, as is the alcoholic toward health-killing drink. But these very persons, if they were to form good habits, would say, we cannot do without the pleasure and peace of meditation. We become miserable now if we have to mingle in our old environments. The Tao of Dr. Seuss. They have the Tao of Piglet, of like Winnie the Pooh. They have the Tao of Pooh, the Tao of Piglet. I've seen that one.
I gifted my mom the Tao of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I had an ex-girlfriend that was like a super duper spiritual, and like yeah, she had those books and she'd be reading them, and they were really cute. It was like she was a very materialistic like little white girl, and then when she met me, she instantly became vegetarian and then vegan, and then she started meditating every day, and she just became like she was really into reading things that were like in between like these really far off fucking Taoism, Buddhism, and then she would find stuff that like correlated to like modern day stuff. So like the Tao of Winnie the Pooh, Old Soul was like another good book she used to read, and like some other stuff. It wasn't like really far out straight up like scripture, but it was like stuff like that correlated it and still brought it into real life. It was very, very cute. So yeah, Yogananda is saying like everybody is like, I know myself. It's like, oh, I can't do without this or that. I need this. I'm not gonna be able to live without it. And it's like he's saying,
was like, what do I need you for anymore?
And then she read it and she was like, oh, I don't need you anymore. Exactly. Yeah, that's what happened. She's like, I'm done playing with you. It's
Hope that's not a sore point.
oh, thanks a lot, dude. Now I'm gonna go fucking cry for an hour. We broke up 7 years ago. It's very sore. It's like I'm still not over it. It's like oh my god. So he's saying that, like, even those people who are saying, like, oh, I can't do without this, I can't live without that,
LOL.
if they were to start meditating and taking on these good habits, they would say they would say the same about the good things. They would say, I can't live without this. I can't do without that. And I gotta tell you, dude, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. Now it's like my same addictive qualities that I have with cannabis and every other thing that I've given up. A lot of other things, you know, I'm very addictive to a lot of things, a lot of addictive qualities. Now I can't go without meditating. If I go a day or two without meditating, I feel horrible. I feel like crap. I can't go without it. I feel miserable, you know, like there'll be days where I'm like, I'm not gonna meditate. I'm too lazy. I don't feel like it. And it's like, and then I just find myself walking into my little bed, into my little corner. I get in my, I'm like, oh shit, I'll get in my little meditation posture. Those who cling to their materialistic nature fail to understand.
With exercise, so I hear.
Yeah, exactly. Those who cling to their materialistic nature fail to understand why the pleasure-producing senses are inimical to the joy of the spirit. Why, they ask, were the senses given to man if not to enjoy them? This query is supposed to completely floor the ascetic. The metaphysical reason for self-control is nothing but a spiritual business proposition calculated to bring the greatest happiness to man. Just as one must invest a certain sum of money in order to reap a greater gain, so the devotee forgoes indulgence in materialistic pleasures for the sake of gaining the pure joy of spirit found in meditation. Man is the image of God. Within himself, as the tree is hidden in the seed, is the latent, unmanifested bliss of spirit. As roasted seeds do not germinate, so when the seed of consciousness is scorched by the flames of material desires, the innate tree of divine happiness never has a chance to sprout. Therefore, self-control is not self-torture, but leads instead to soul happiness. By withdrawing the mind from indulgence in lower kinds of paltry pleasures of the senses, man enters a vast kingdom of unending joy. It is the errant chicanery of the malevolent ego that tells man otherwise. Therefore, self-control is not self-torture, but leads instead to soul happiness. By withdrawing the mind from indulgence in lower kinds of paltry pleasures of the senses, man enters a vast kingdom of unending joy. It is the errant chicanery of the malevolent ego that tells man otherwise. A vast kingdom of unending joy. Verses 28 through 30. So we just said, Arjuna just went, he's talking to Krishna, and he just saw that he's facing all of his family members. He looks out into the enemy field, he sees it's his friends and his family underneath all the armor. And now he says, O Krishna, seeing these, my relatives, met together, desirous of battle, my limbs are failing, and my mouth is parched. My body trembles. My hair stands on end. The sacred bow, Gandiva, slips away from my grip, and my skin is afire. Neither can I remain standing upright. My mind is rambling, and O Keshava, Krishna, I behold evil omens. Isn't that so interesting? The sacred bow Gandiva slips away from my grip, and my skin is afire. He's like, I can't do it. Oh, Krishna, seeing these, my relatives met together, desirous of battle, my limbs are failing. My mouth is parched. He's like, my arms and legs are not working. I can't drink. My body trembles. My hair stands on end. The sacred bow Gandiva, remember we were talking about the sacred bow, right? We were talking about the bow of meditation, right? Slips away from my grip, and my skin is afire. My skin feels like it's on fire. My hair's on edge. Neither can I remain standing upright. My mind is rambling, and oh, Keshava. He calls him Krishna. It's Krishna. He's like Krishna, but he's calling him Keshava, another name. What does this name mean? Oh, Keshava, I behold evil omens. So Yogananda translates this stanza as follows. He says, the devotee says to his inner soul guide, because of love of my indwelling, clashing good and bad habits, I am reluctant to kill my kinsmen of the senses who have dwelt so long in my bodily kingdom. My limbs of willpower to exercise self-control are failing me, and my mouth of spiritual intuition is dry. I am quivering with mental nervousness. My energies and thoughts shoot toward the senses. The sacred bow of self-control and of spinal perceptions is slipping away, and my mental skin covering my consciousness is burning with restlessness. O soul destroyer of evil, I cannot keep my mental balance. My mind wanders as I face the enemy senses in meditation. I feel a premonition of impending disaster. Is this not what happens when you sit to meditate? Do you not feel this? Does not everybody feel this? Go sit to meditate, dude. I've taken men who run marathons. My friend is a marathon runner. He go run 26 goddamn miles straight and then run back. He's so freaking good at running. So good he can control his body, no doubt. He went to go meditate with me for 45 minutes and he got out of there. He's like, my God, man, that was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. That's what he told me. He said, that was one of the most difficult things I've had to do in my life. Sit there quietly for 45 minutes with my own thoughts. He's like, my hands were moving. I was tensing every muscle. I was scratching my skin, and this happens to me. Same thing when I first began the path. Absolutely. Look at what Yogananda says. This is a true description of the state experienced by devotees after they have traveled some distance on the spiritual path. The beginner yogi in the initial stages of soul contact is eager, happy, satisfied with further progress. He finds that the sense desires are die-hard inmates of his life. He begins to wonder, even in the midst of divine realizations, if he has been wise in his decision to kill material joys for the sake of gaining spiritual happiness. In such confusion, the devotee tries to split his allegiance, giving half his attention to the body and its sense enjoyments, and half to the inner assembly of joys. The result of these half measures is that the devotee's limbs of willpower become paralyzed by the disease of latent sense attachment. He feels a dying away of...
It's good to be bored and just sit with yourself. I do it a lot.
It's good to be bored and just sit with yourself. I do it a lot. He feels a dying away of the finer intuitive... Oh, wait. In such confusion, the devotee tries to split his allegiance, giving half his attention to the body and its sense enjoyments and half to the inner assembly of soul joys. The result of these half measures is that the devotee's limbs of willpower become paralyzed by the disease of latent sense attachment. He feels a dying away of the finer intuitive spiritual perceptions. The taste for material habits, like a fire, dries up the taste for the subtle spiritual perceptions. Just as physical fear causes the hair to stand on end, so mental nervousness as the prospect of losing sense enjoyment causes the devotee's thoughts and his hair-like nerve energies to flow like streams away from soul happiness towards the region of the senses. During this period of dubiousness, the devotee finds that the astral perceptions of the spine begin to fade away. As described in previous stanzas, when one walks or works in any way with the body, he is cognizant of sensory perceptions. But in meditation, bodily sensations gradually vanish. The sense of physical weight is forgotten, and a strong perception of astral spinal power and of blissful calmness takes possession of the consciousness. But because the devotee is not yet advanced enough to hold on to the state and deepen it, his materialistic tendencies, his karma, or the effects of all his past bad sensory actions rise up in the consciousness. When the devotee then begins to be restless, the spiritual bow of spinal energy and perception, which kills sense attachments with arrows of soul happiness, slips away from the grasp of self-control. All thoughts lose their power of concentration and start to burn with restlessness, even as skin is scorched by an overexposure to the sun's rays. The mind wanders again and again into subconscious experiences, led by the samskaras or strong impressions of past wrong actions, and is unable to remain concentrated upon the object of meditation. It feels instead a dreary loneliness, and beholds a mental desert created by the renunciation of material joys. When tilling the ground for cultivating crops, the lush growth of useless weeds must first be destroyed. Their disappearance causes the ground to look barren, until the time arrives for the invisible potential within, the seeds to sprout up into plants and yield goodly harvest. The fields of consciousness is similarly overgrown with weeds of meaningless sense pleasures, habits which, in the beginning, are very difficult to forsake. People would rather do anything while away People would rather do anything to while away their time except meditate. Witness the hours lost in movies, card playing, aimless chattering, reading cheap novels or sensational newspapers, watching television. When the guru and the self-control of the aspiring devotee ask him to destroy his mental weeds and to plant the spiritual seeds of meditation, his habits suddenly make him see his life as a desolate desert if it lacks the customary weedy abundance of useless activities. Isn't that what a perfect allegory? What a perfect representation? What a good parable explained. He says that when you till the ground, there's a lot of lush weeds everywhere. So then you rip out all the weeds and it looks barren at first until you cultivate the ground and you put in the seeds, and then eventually the beautiful crops that are actually good and serve purposes will sprout. So it is the same with the mind of the devotee starting to find the path. There's a lot of unnecessary sense weeds of sense pleasures and habits that we have there. And when the guru comes and tells you to remove them, it seems kind of barren at first. You're like, well, what the hell am I going to do now? All I've done with my life are these things. This is all I've done my whole life. Now you're taking them away. That's all I have. So we have to train ourselves. We have to plant these seeds of intuition into our field in the mind. And over time, after watering them with good actions and meditation, it will sprout forth the good fruits and vegetables of good habits that will come forth from there, and we can actually partake of. In this pitiable state of momentary bleakness, the devotee must cast away all feelings of doubt and despair, and have faith that after the field of consciousness has been well sown with the seeds of deep meditation, they will produce the mystic trees of omnipresence, bearing fruits of undying happiness. It is not to the long-established sense upstarts in the bodily kingdom that the devotee owes his loyalty, but to the long-banished soul perceptions. It is not to the long-established sense upstarts in the bodily kingdom that the devotee owes his loyalty, but the long-banished soul perceptions. Yeah, dude, you guys go sit to meditate. You'll feel it. You'll feel the burning up of the sensations of the mind. You'll feel all the restlessness come up. You'll see the battlefield right there. Verse 31. O Krishna, neither do I perceive any worthwhile effect in slaying my own kinsmen in the battle. I crave neither triumph, nor kingdom, nor pleasures. He's like, why am I going to do this? There's no need for me to do this. I don't want their pleasures. I don't want their kingdom. I don't want anything from them. I don't see the point of doing this. Yogananda translates this as forward, as soul, as such. O soul, I do not perceive any beneficial You lurk. Well, we're an educated possum. Thank you so much for the lurk, brother. He's probably streaming.
Also, Hare Krishna.
Also, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Amen. I used to say that all the time, dude. I never knew what it meant. Like, when I first came onto the path, I used to be like, oh, whatever. Just something people say. It was literally rhetoric. I was like, oh, I know who Krishna is. I love him. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. I know who Ram is. Hare Ram. I know who Rama. And, there's a section in the autobiography of Yogi, and he says he's running away to go to Krishna in the chapter of the penniless boys. And he's on the train, and he sees a sage. And the sage sees him, and he's like, oh, I see you two boys are running. You guys are in search of Hari. And then there's a little footnote there. He's like, you're in search of Hari. And a footnote, and it reads at the very bottom, it says, the stealer of hearts. I was like, oh, perfect. What a perfect name for God. You're after him, the stealer of hearts. The thief of hearts. The one who steals your love away from everything else. Because once you search after him, you can't love anything else. There's nothing else to love. It's all him. Isn't this such a beautiful song? From thy body do shine. Who tells me thou art dark, O my mother divine? Who tells me thou art dark, O my mother divine? Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Who tells me thou art dark? Who tells me thou art dark? My mother divine. So he says, Krishna, neither do I perceive any worthwhile effect in slaying my own kinsmen in the battle. I crave neither triumph, nor kingdom, nor pleasures. Yogananda describes this section as, O soul, I do not perceive any beneficial result to be gained by slaying my intimate sense habits. My mind loathes the idea of destruction of sense pleasures. I crave nothing, neither mental victory, nor the kingdom of soul happiness, nor sense pleasures. He's like, I don't want any of them. He's like, I don't want the sense pleasures. I don't want the kingdom of the soul. Why am I doing this? In this despondent state of mental vacillation, my God, what a despondent. What does despondent mean? It means not willing to act. You're despondent. You don't want to do anything. What does despondent? Why is my shit capitalized all the time? Google. What does despondent mean? Oh, did I spell that wrong? Despondent means feeling very sad, hopeless, or down. Basically the vibe of a level you can't beat in writing and reading. You ever use it? Yeah. Why is it always such a cocky AI that responds? It's like, why are you such a cheeky little AI bot? It's like, in this despondent state of mental vacillation, the devotee suddenly makes a negative decision. I don't see any use in destroying all sense comforts, he reflects. I do not crave any empty mental victory. I don't want the kingdom of cosmic consciousness. I don't want sense happiness either. The devotee thus turns from a torturing state of bewilderment to the state of negative definiteness. The devotee says to himself, down with both spiritual and sense happiness. I want nothing. I can forego the possession of cosmic consciousness, if to attain it, I have to destroy the dear sense habits with whom I have long dwelt in the cozy home of life. This is one of man's favorite ploys, mastered early in childhood. If I have to eat my carrots before I can have ice cream, then I don't want ice cream either. The plan is that this will be applauded as a great sacrifice worthy at least of pity, and better still of favorable compromise. The wise parent doesn't give in to the willful child. The wise cosmic law is passively unmoved by the devotee's heroic display of negative renunciation. The state of negative renunciation may occur not only in meditation, as in this context, but also after deep meditation. The devotee who has for some time made concerted spiritual effort, practicing self-denial and regular meditation, may find his complacency shattered when after a quiet meditation he suddenly is thrown into restlessness by the memory or samskaras of sense joys. He feels distressed and bewildered, realizing he has neither passing pleasures nor inner joys. Since he has neither, he pacifies his discouragement by proclaiming he wants neither. If he doesn't pull himself out of this indifference, he becomes a slothful devotee whose spiritual life will stagnate and die. But if he continues to persevere, he finds that this state is only a momentary vacuum in his sadhana. Renunciation is not an end in itself. Parting with a small sum of money in order to invest it may place a poor man temporarily in a very awkward financial position, but that small sacrifice may later yield him an immense fortune. The wise devotee similarly knows that renunciation of paltry materialistic passions is necessary to attain the never-ending happiness of spirit. He knows that he is not denying himself anything, but is only shifting his taste from inferior, impermanent sense pleasures to superior, lasting soul happiness. As one should be glad to renounce $100 in order to gain $5,000, so the devotee is happy to renounce a sensory pittance for the everlasting joy found in God realization. The divine state of final emancipation is not a state of blank nothingness, or a condition in inner extinction. It is rather the demesne of a positive conscience, sense of eternal blessed expansion. What does demesne mean? Demesne. Sounds like Greek or a god. Google. What does demesne mean? Demesne, is that what that means? The demesne mean. What does demesne mean? Come on, Google. Demesne means land owned and managed by a lord. Oh. Your stream's own territory in the writing and reading. Oh my god, why does it keep doing that? Want the short etymology too? No, I don't want to know where it's from, but that's interesting. So it's just land that's managed by a lord. Your demesne. 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 It's probably French. I don't know. The divine state of final emancipation is not a state of blank nothingness or a condition of inner extinction. It is rather the demesne of a positive conscious sense of eternal blessed expansion. Oh. Nevertheless, worldly people are seldom impressed by stories of the saints who have worn sackcloth and lived in seclusion. What lives of foolish self-denial and misery! With this airy summing up, the average man turns his entire attention on the world. To him it appears that happiness must be sought in family life, with its dinner parties, dances, and general stimulation of the senses. The unthinking man does not notice that mankind, busily engaged like himself in chasing the rainbow of lasting happiness, never finds it. Materially minded people suffer from conflicting desires and remain in a mire of suffering. Saints, on the other hand, are well aware of that true and undying happiness can be found only in the inner perceptions of the blissful source of unalloyed eternal joy. Many spiritually sincere persons reason that renunciation of material involvement, as exemplified by ascetics, is almost an impossibility in the modern world. No saint, however, advises that man has to seek solitude in Himalayan caves in order to find God. The ideal is to be in the world and yet not of it. Superconsciously awakened men, those who have meditated long, deeply, and persistently, no matter what their responsibilities or environment,